straights into Roseburg with their cars and stuff, and it's pretty noisy and loud. And I'm a veteran, disabled veteran, and my friend Tom was a veteran also. We just don't like the whole noisy crowd scene, and we worked at a business that was busy all the time through the week and the weekend with people anyway, so we just didn't want to be around the whole noisy mess with people and stuff. So we planned to go up to a weekend camping trip to Fish Lake, which we took the route east of Canyonville and drove up there, and we decided to just do an overnight. We didn't, not in the lake area, but we camped at the trailhead overnight. We just took enough supplies for an overnight camping trip, and my friend Tom was a reserve policeman besides his job. We're armed. He had a pistol and I had a rifle, and we camped at the trailhead just overnight, and the trailhead is just above the lake there, and nothing really significant at the trailhead, just maybe a car or two overnight, stuff that drove through there and stuff. He camped across the street, across the road, and once daylight came, we got up, got things ready, and we probably started in the Beaver Swamp Trail, which is a kind of a rough trail. It's got a probably, I would say, 7% grade going downhill. It's really kind of rough. Most people don't do that trail. So we started in probably about, I'd say it takes you about a half hour to get down it because it's so steep. So we started probably about 10:30, 10:45, got to the bottom around 11 o'clock, maybe 11:30 or so. It took us a little bit. We got to the bottom of the trail, and I believe we went off to the left. We were walking for about another half hour, and we came to a family, had a couple of kids, and they had two big Rottweiler dogs, and the dogs weren't on a leash, they were just walking freely. And we talked with them for about a half hour, just about how things were going in the area, how the fishing was, that kind of thing, if there was anybody else in there. And they related to us that they were the only one in there, and they'd been in there for a couple of hours. They got in there earlier in the day. And the interesting thing at this point is I believe that they're coming out, masks are coming in with the noise they were making, because the dogs were barking, they were running around, the kids were making noise and stuff. And I think that the wildlife in the area didn't realize that we were coming in as they were coming out. So we talked with them for a little while longer, and then we proceeded in to where we were going to make our place. This was the first time I perched there, and we're setting up to go fishing. Once we set up and stuff, there were some ducks in the area that were swimming around, and they were kind of being a menace. We're kind of have to shoo them away and stuff. And we finally got set to fish and cast our line, and we're waiting for something to bite. And my son was fishing also, but he had very good eyesight. He was looking around the water, and he was finding kind of like some fishing lures that were left over there. He was kind of wading around the water and going to pick them up. Stuff that was caught in some of the tall grass and stuff. And it was about 45 minutes after we started fishing, and he looked up, and he says, "Hey, Dad, there's a man standing in the tree line, and he's wearing a fur suit." And I was fishing, not paying attention, but once I heard that, I kind of looked over, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" Me and my friend Tom both did, because it was interesting that there would be somebody standing in the tree line wearing a fur suit in such a remote area in that kind of heat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, seeing someone out there in a fur suit would be weird. Even a ghillie suit in the heat, is like having a blanket over you. Yeah, I could definitely see how that would be strange. It would get my attention anyway.
Yeah, it just seemed really odd, because here we are in such a remote area. I mean, what would somebody be doing walking around like that? It would just seem like a weird sensation to be doing that, a weird way to be. So I took notice, and I looked over, and it seemed was a few breaks in the tall grass that we could see, and it was standing there looking around, kind of getting a view. I think it was coming out after it figured that the family with the 2 big dogs were gone, and I don't think it wanted to mess with, maybe 1 dog, but not 2 of them. Where there's 1, there's more, and we didn't want to hang around and find out what their next move was, so we decided to kind of get out of there. So there was a couple of, like I said, there was a couple snags, some logs, and stuff out in the distance, and I had about 3 magazines of ammo. I had a Chinese SKS on me, and my friend had a 357 Magnum, and I just started lighting up one of the snags and stuff, and kind of kicking off some rounds, making it real loud, and then we decided to get out of there very hastily.
Look at the face.
We're about 50 to 75 feet away. The face I couldn't really make out very well. I did mention to you that my son wanted me to put my scope on it. I had a scope on my SKS. He wanted me to put the scope on it, but I didn't. With my training in the military, is you generally don't point your weapon at something you're not going to shoot, and I didn't do that. And it's kind of regrettable today that I didn't scope it out, but I refused to scope it out because I just didn't figure, what if I'm pointing my weapon at somebody? What if it's a person dressed up? I ran through a bunch of different conclusions about what could happen if I pointed my scope at a person, which I was very confused and kind of befuddled at the time when I was viewing this creature. The shoulders probably were about 3 to 4 feet across or so. Very stocky, very muscular build.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, drinking water. I've heard it described 2 different ways. One, the way you described it, almost like a push-up, and it's drinking the water. The other way I've heard it is where they cup their hands, and they'll stand there and kind of look around as they're drinking water. Either way, it's very cautious. Do you think that's the main purpose? It was just coming out to get water, waiting for the coast to be clear?
I think that the purpose was to drink water. I think it was just waiting for those people with the dogs to leave. I don't think it wanted to take on that many individuals. I don't think it wanted to take on 2 dogs plus the adults and mess with that. I think it was too hot. I think it was too many people. I think it wanted just to have to come out in peacefulness, come get some water, and then go back to where it was going to go. It lowered its hand. It was almost like doing a push-up, lowering its mouth down to the water, as far as I can tell.
What an amazing account. I've interviewed, out of all the people I've interviewed, Chad, and it's in the thousands at this point, but out of all those interviews, I've only heard of them, people seeing or witnessing these creatures drinking water maybe a half a dozen times. And most of the time they describe it the same way you just did. When you first see it, I realize this is 2003, but and for a moment you're thinking, okay, is this a guy in a gorilla suit? What's going on here? And I think a lot of people go through that. But when you are watching it, what's going through your mind? What do you think it is?
The thing that popped into my mind right away was the Patterson-Gimlin film. That's what I thought right away. I thought, am I really seeing this? Is this what I'm seeing? Is this real? Is this what? Oh my God, I can't believe it. That's what my mind. I was very, very bewildered at the time. But that's the first thing. Even if I'm going down I-5 and I'm looking off to the side of the road into the forest, I'm looking for something standing there. I'm looking for any kind of sign, trees in a weird position, anything like that. I'm looking. It's weird how that affects you like that, but once you see what I've seen like that, and other people have seen what they've seen, you're constantly looking for other signs or maybe another sighting. God forbid people that have had encounters with them. I can't imagine that. I just had a sighting in them like this now.
Yeah, I think most